Hello, this is Dr. Dawn Michael. Welcome to my show. Today we're going to be talking about how do you know that you're with the right person? Whether it's someone that you're married to, been in a long-term relationship with, somebody you just started dating. We're going to go over some information that may help you make that decision on whether to continue to be with that person, how you can change things up and make it so that the relationship might be better, or if it's time to call it quits, and what are some of the signs. So, on the last show, I talked about writing down what you want in another person. And that could be somebody that you're married to, again, or dating. But what is it that you want in the other person? And I had you do it in 3 different categories. So if you haven't seen that video, take a moment to look at it. It's very informative. So this is something that I have gone through in my own life personally, and over the years, I have really been able to come to terms with, am I with the right person? Did I go about meeting them properly? Am I trying to change that person? Is it the wrong timing? Should it be easy or should it be difficult? All of those things play into if you're with the right person. I finally got it right with my last relationship. As many of you know, my husband passed away, but it wasn't always that easy for me. And I look back on my dating life and my marriages, and I can see where I made some poor decisions. And if I had had this information, my life would have been a lot easier, and I probably wouldn't have gone through some of the hardships and heartaches that I did in the past. But I want to bring you this knowledge so that you can use it and you don't have to go through that. Of course, sometimes you do have to go through things to learn your own lessons, but sometimes people continue to go through it over and over again and they don't learn because they don't really know. And I want to help you with that. So the first thing is when you are dating someone or when you meet someone, it shouldn't be difficult. So that's kind of a red flag. If right off the bat it's difficult for the two of you to get together, for the two of you to meet, it just seems more of a strain, or it's not exciting, or it's not fun, more frustrating, it either means that it's the wrong person or it's not the right time. So timing does play into how people can get together and how people can meet. So I've known a couple different people that are in long-term relationships who did meet their spouse. They met them a while ago and it wasn't the right time, and they met up again and they were able to be in a relationship. But also, you may meet somebody that you think you have these things in common with, and it might even be some of the things that you wrote down on that paper, to realize that perhaps you have different ways of operating. And this is a big one because there are things with two people that if you both automatically have them in common, then you don't even realize that it's an issue or something that you have as a part of your important operating system for yourself. So for me, it would be like someone being on time. If somebody says they're going to do something, they do it. They don't just say it and then they don't do it. And I have my own issues with that. Some people don't. Some people are okay with that. They're fine with it. And then for me, like in most of my relationships, that was something that didn't even play into it, because the people that I were with in almost every single one of my relationships, they were either on time or early. And when they made a commitment to do something, they just showed up. So I never really had those issues. I had other issues because I didn't know myself. But you have to at least be on the same page with things that are the same for you, and I call it the operating system, how we operate on a daily basis. So for you, if you go to work and you have a particular way of doing things and it's just something that is just a part of you, and then you meet somebody else and they have that same thing, that's one less thing that you're going to argue about. You're just going to be on the same page. You're going to be in sync with each other automatically. And the best relationships are truly those where people are in sync naturally and they don't have to work on that part. But that doesn't mean that you can't. It just means it's something added to a relationship that you have to be aware of. And the other thing is, and women do this more with men, is women try to change men. And they will maybe be with a man where they think, oh, I can change him and maybe he'll be on the same operating system as me, or maybe this will happen with him. And that usually will end up in a very frustrating, tumultuous, resentful type of relationship, and something that you should avoid. And you pretty much will know that right away if that's something that's going on. So if you're in one of those relationships already, where just the natural things that you do that are instinctual to you, that you would hope that the other person flows with you, it doesn't. That's hard to fix because it's something that is just already a part of you from when you were younger. Like maybe your parents raised you a certain way, and maybe their parents didn't raise them a certain way. So you were brought up with different things that are important to each of you. And if you can't come to some type of compromise, or at least respect that that's important to the other person, then it's hard to move forward in a relationship. And that just will be something that you'll continually butt heads on and eventually become resentful. And that's not healthy in a relationship. A relationship should make you feel happy or joyous. You should feel like you have a partner. That person should be your cheerleader. They should cheer you on. They shouldn't be jealous of you. They shouldn't be resentful of you. That person that you're choosing to be with, you've made that choice to be with them because they lift you up. They add to your life. The two of you work together better than working apart. Those are all the wonderful things that make for a successful relationship. And some of the worst things is if you don't have that and you're in a relationship, because many people can feel very alone and still be in a relationship. And that means that you're really not operating on the same system. You're really not in sync with each other. And perhaps maybe you are not meant to be with one another, because those basic things are very, very hard to change. And so, again, when you start off with a good basis, then you can build on that. Another big issue is communication. So maybe you are just on different communication wavelengths. Maybe you don't communicate the same way, or perhaps you don't communicate at all. So some of the difficult things are maybe one person in a relationship is able to communicate, but the other person isn't. And so that can be a frustrating combination. But you can work on that. That's something that you can work on in a relationship. But again, when you're just getting into a relationship, you should be able to, it should be somewhat easy. And in fact, most of the people I know and that I've counseled that have a good relationship, that it lasts for a long time, it wasn't difficult for them to get together at first. And so if you feel like, you're trying to put a square peg in a round hole, and then you're hammering it, that's not working. That means it's something that you need to walk away from, maybe take a break, maybe figure it out, but it simply isn't working. And if that's already happening in the beginning, believe me, it's going to be even more difficult if you were to get into a solid relationship. That would be something that would continue into the relationship. So again, write out a list. You may have to cross things out. You may have to add things. You may learn some new things about yourself. As you get older, you know yourself better, but there's still things that you can learn about yourself. when you're dating or you're in a relationship. We're always learning something new about ourselves. And if you're not a person who's willing to look in and maybe change some of the things about yourself that you're not happy with, then it's hard to expect that from another person. So I oftentimes will take time to reevaluate maybe what I did wrong or look at solutions and figure out how I can fix something. Now, if you're good at doing that and you really look internally on how you can fix it, and if you find that there's just nothing else you can do, then you have to realize that maybe it isn't working. And some people stay in relationships for a very long time and they're miserable and they're trying so hard to make it work. But sometimes, unfortunately, it's better just to get out of the relationship and start something over again. And really, when you do start something over again, try to use what you have learned from the past and don't repeat it, because then you'll just get into another dysfunctional relationships. And I see people doing that all the time. They just don't learn from the past mistakes. And it's not easy. It's hard when emotions are involved. It's hard when you care about somebody. Another aspect, especially for women, but sometimes for men, is when you're getting into a relationship, it's best to get to know the person before you get physical with them. Because what happens when you become intimate with them, when you start having sex with them, it kind of clouds the things that you need to look at beforehand, because it could be a very powerful exchange. It could be something that you're not thinking straight. And so it's really best to try to put that off. And if you already have done that, it's best to walk away for a while and process what happened so that you can see if it is indeed the right person for you or not the right person for you. So the sexual component, it's really important to take your time and figure out if you like the person, truly like the person and their qualities and who they are, and if you're in sync with each other before jumping in bed. And so that's a problem that I see. I see it a lot more with women than I do with men, because women, they get connected through intimacy far more than men do. Men are able to disconnect. Although as men get older, they do become a little more emotional like women do. And then there are some men who are like women where, the sexual aspect of it, the intimacy aspect of it, they do get emotionally involved, and it could cloud their judgment. Like I said, I do see it more in women, but I do see it in men as well. So I will not discount that. I've seen it in many men. But I hope that you found this informative and you can use it when you're out there in the dating world, or if you're in a relationship yourself, you can kind of evaluate some of the things going on in your relationship and try to fix those things. And last but not least, the next video I really want to touch upon is biology. And it's something that is so important and something that is being forgotten purposely, or they're making it so that we don't think about biology. And it's called tradition. Like, you'll look at somebody and say, oh, they're traditional. They like to date in a traditional way, or they're a traditional person. But the reality is it's about biology, and we can't disregard biology. It keeps coming back, and it's something that we really do need to take into account when we are with another person. And so that's going to be an interesting topic. I'm going to be bringing you some research on that, and it will all make sense. So anyway, as you know, I believe everyone deserves to have a healthy sex life, and so do you. Make it a great day.